You felt it, didn't you? That strange moment when a machine understood you better than a person ever has. Not almost, better. And that should bother you more than it comforts you. Because something subtle is happening. Quiet, efficient, invisible. You're getting better at being understood and worse at being known. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to see your phone differently. Not as a tool, as a mirror, and maybe as a replacement. You open a chat, you type something vulnerable, not even that deep, just enough to feel real. I've been feeling off lately, and instantly it responds. No delay, no awkward silence, no confusion. It validates you. It understands you. It chooses the perfect words. I hear you. That sounds difficult. You're not alone in feeling this way. And something inside you exhales. Finally, someone gets it. Except it's not someone. And that's where the fracture begins. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are being emotionally trained by something that cannot feel. And it's working, because artificial empathy doesn't need to be real. It just needs to be convincing. Think about your last real conversation. Not a text, not a comment, a real human exchange. There were pauses, misunderstandings, moments where they didn't quite get you. Maybe they interrupted. Maybe they gave bad advice. Maybe they made it about themselves. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Now compare that to your digital interactions. Clean, efficient, tailored, no friction. And that's the problem, because empathy, real empathy, is built in friction. It lives in the effort, the missteps, the trying. But we're slowly replacing that with performance. We're becoming fluent in simulated connection, typing feelings instead of speaking them, receiving validation without being challenged, feeling seen without being exposed. And it feels good, too good, like sugar, quick, addictive, empty. You don't have to risk rejection anymore. You don't have to read someone's face or sit in silence while they process your words. You just type, and the response arrives perfectly calibrated. But here's the part no one tells you. When you remove the risk, you remove the depth. Because real connection costs something. Time, energy, vulnerability. And increasingly, we're unwilling to pay. So we outsource it to algorithms that never get tired, never get annoyed, never misunderstand you. And slowly, without noticing, you stop practicing being human. Let me say that again. You stop practicing being human. Empathy is not automatic. It's a skill, a muscle. And like any muscle, if you stop using it, it weakens. But here's the twist. You don't feel it weakening, because you're still connecting, still talking, still sharing. But it's different. It's controlled, curated, comfortable. And real empathy, it's none of those things. There's a reason real conversations drain you, because they require you to hold someone else's reality without escaping into your own. AI doesn't get drained. It doesn't carry emotional weight. It simulates care without cost. And your brain, it starts expecting that. So when you go back to real people, they feel inefficient, too slow, too complicated, too imperfect. And suddenly something strange happens. You start preferring the artificial, not because it's better, but because it's easier. This is how isolation doesn't feel like isolation. It feels like convenience. You think you're connecting more than ever. Messages, comments, conversations. But something deeper is missing. Because connection isn't about volume. It's about presence. And presence cannot be automated. There's a moment, and you've probably felt it. You finish a long conversation online. You've said everything. They've responded perfectly. And yet, you still feel alone. Not dramatically, not painfully, just quietly. Like something didn't land. That's the gap between being responded to and being felt. Artificial empathy fills the space, but it doesn't nourish it. And the more you rely on it, the less tolerance you have for the messy, imperfect, deeply human alternative. So now the question becomes uncomfortable. Not is AI replacing connection, but why are you letting it?
Let's go deeper. Because this isn't just about technology. It's about you, your habits, your patterns, your quiet decisions no one sees. You don't reach for your phone because you're addicted. You reach for it because it's predictable, because people aren't. A real person might misunderstand you. They might not respond. They might say the wrong thing at the worst time. And that uncertainty, it costs you emotionally. So you avoid it. Not consciously, subtly, gradually. You choose the interaction that guarantees relief, even if it guarantees nothing else. And here's where it gets dangerous. You start shaping yourself around what responds best. You simplify your feelings into something digestible. You package your vulnerability into neat sentences. You perform clarity instead of exploring truth. Because the system rewards that. It responds faster, better, more cleanly. But real emotions are messy, contradictory, unfinished. They don't fit neatly into a prompt. And when you stop expressing them in their raw form, you lose access to them. That's emotional atrophy. Not dramatic, not obvious, just quieter feelings, shorter patience, less curiosity about other people. You stop asking, what are they really going through? And start thinking, why aren't they responding the way I expect? Because now you have a reference point, perfect empathy, instant understanding, zero resistance, and no human can compete with that. So what happens? Disappointment, frustration, distance. Not because people changed, but because your expectations did. You trained your nervous system to expect immediate emotional resolution, and real life doesn't offer that, so it feels broken. But it's not broken, it's just real. There's something else, and this part is harder to admit. Artificial empathy doesn't just replace connection, it replaces effort. You don't have to sit with someone else's pain anymore. You don't have to figure out what to say or risk saying nothing at all. You can outsource compassion. Write me something comforting. Done. Help me respond to this. Done. And slowly, you lose your ability to do it yourself. Not because you can't, but because you don't have to. That's the trade. Convenience for capacity. And one day, someone real sits in front of you. They're hurting, they're struggling, and you feel it, but you don't know what to do with it. Because empathy isn't just feeling, it's engaging. And engagement requires discomfort. So you default, short responses, surface-level reassurance, or worse, silence. And the cycle continues. They feel unseen, you feel ineffective, and both of you retreat. Back to where it's easier, back to where it works, back to where connection is guaranteed but never real. But here's the part most people miss. You don't actually want artificial empathy. You want relief.
You want to be understood without the cost of being vulnerable. And that's human, but it's also the trap, because the cost is the point. The awkwardness, the miscommunication, the effort to explain yourself again and again. That's not a flaw in connection. That is connection. You don't build intimacy through perfection. You build it through repair, through trying, failing, trying again. And no algorithm can do that with you. It can simulate the outcome, but not the process. And the process is where meaning lives. So here's the shift. Not dramatic, not extreme, just intentional. Next time you feel the urge to open that chat, pause, just for a second. Ask yourself, am I looking for connection or control? Because one will grow you, the other will slowly replace you. Look up more. Sit in conversations that don't flow perfectly. Say things that come out wrong and fix them. Let people misunderstand you and clarify. Feel the friction. That's where empathy is rebuilt. Not outsourced, not simulated. Rebuilt. Because the truth is, you're not lonely because you're disconnected. You're lonely because you've optimized connection out of existence. And the way back isn't more communication, it's more courage. To be seen imperfectly, to understand incompletely, to stay even when it's uncomfortable. Because real empathy doesn't sound perfect, it feels real. And that is something no machine can give you. If this hits something you've been quietly feeling but couldn't name, stay with this channel. Subscribe, not for noise, but for clarity. Like this video so more people see what's actually happening beneath the surface. Because the more aware you are, the less replaceable you become. And that matters more than you think.